Hello and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Mullen. I'm the president and owner here at ABQ-IT. I appreciate you guys taking the time to jump on this call with us. We're going to be doing a webinar today, as you know, on AI readiness with large language models and how local businesses can thrive in the age of AI. I have on the call with me here John Egan. He's our director of sales and leads our AI operations.
It's nice to meet everybody.
So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into this and get started. Just quick introduction. As I mentioned, I'm Greg Mullen, the president and owner here at ABQ-IT. ABQ-IT is a division of Albuquerque Computer and Electronics Recycling Company. And my dad and I started that company back in 2008. And in 2016, we spun off ABQ-IT with a goal to provide comprehensive IT services across the state. And since then, we've worked really hard to build our client list and realized early on that our clients' liabilities were our liabilities. And when our clients thrive, we thrive. And so ABQ-IT takes a major focus in areas like cybersecurity and compliance. And then, of course, when AI came out and really started to make some waves with ChatGPT, we saw that we were going to need to become experts on AI to continue to help our clients thrive and really use technology to achieve their business goals and objectives. And about 6 months ago, John joined the company to help with that initiative. As you can see on the screen there, I'm an author and co-authored a book, Managing Your Business Risks in the Cybersecurity Minefield. And AI is playing a big role in that cybersecurity minefield. Today, we're going to get into topics like, large language models, different types that are out there today. We're going to cover AI agents. We're going to go over some real world examples today of, how we're using these AI agents to advance business objectives. We're going to talk about managing pitfalls because, boy, there's a lot of them out there. And we're seeing some businesses try to implement AI and fall flat on their face doing so. So we're going to talk about some real world examples as far as that goes. And we're going to learn about strategic discovery, how to avoid those pitfalls with strategic discovery. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to cover something called the R&D tax credit. It's a way for businesses to actually get some tax credit back from their obligation to pay federal and state taxes when they're using AI to innovate and have some AI projects within the business and offset some of the costs of innovating with AI. And really the webinar is to help you all answer the big question, which is how and where can you integrate large language models and AI in your business processes today to ultimately better achieve your business goals and objectives. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in here. The promise and perils of large language models. We're going to start by, kind of defining their role and automating tasks and generating business insights. Again, give you some real world implications, show you exactly how we have implemented AI agents into our business and help some clients implement AI into their business. And then talk about why, businesses aren't using AI right now when they could be and maybe should be. What's the hesitation behind some of the reasons why AI isn't getting integrated into businesses as fast as maybe it could be. Now to get started here, I just want to cover some basic categories of large language models. Some of these, you all might be familiar with. Hopefully everybody on this call has played around with ChatGPT or some of these other models that are out there. What we call the foundational models. These are the businesses, the companies like ChatGPT, like Anthropic, that are cutting edge in the state of the art when it comes to AI. And some examples of these are ChatGPT, Llama, as the one put out by Meta. And these are very general models. Many of you, again, have used these. They can answer a huge range of questions, everything from medical to politics to science, math, those kinds of things. and really they're have just a complete wide spectrum of their ability when it comes to writing copy, understanding other writing that's out there. Um, and then, you have your conversational models that are really just, a variation of these foundational and general purpose models that are designed for general dialogue, task assistant, focused on helpful, safe conversations. Many of them have guardrails in place to prevent them from, saying certain things or answering certain questions about certain topics. And we're seeing those being embedded in all kinds of different apps, everything from Facebook to Google nowadays, have AI embedded right in there. At this point, everybody's seen some of these AI summaries that are coming across in Google. Then we also have the multimodal large language models, and that's these foundational models that can look at pictures, they can generate pictures. They can look at videos now. Many of them can process audio and videos. They can create videos, and of course, text along with that. Next, we have our domain-specific large language models. So, I'm often surprised when I start talking to clients and customers that many of them aren't familiar with custom GPTs or the ability to teach models, whether it's a model that you might be running in-house or models that are available out there right now, like ChatGPT has a store you can go to, and you can search for custom GPTs that maybe other people have already created that are specialized in a certain topic or task. So some of them, might be GPTs that are created to answer tax questions, very specific questions, US tax law, New Mexico tax law. You might have other GPTs that are focused on a particular technology or type of science or something like that. You can actually go in and create your own GPTs. And one of the use cases we have that we'll talk about later is how we use that to win a major RFP and really train these models to answer with a specific type of information that you train them on. And, it could be anything from your own internal business processes and practices all the way to, if you want it to answer with a particular political bias or bent, you can train these custom domain-specific large language models in order to do that. Delving in a little bit more and some of the more cutting-edge recent releases and developments, you have deep research and reasoning models. Some of what's available now is the sort of ability to be able to query a large language model like ChatGPT, and instead of it answering very quickly with a response, it will actually go to work and do a lot of research. You can put it to work surfing the internet on a variety of different topics. So it could be something like you're looking at making a product purchase, and you want to find the best refrigerator to fit your needs, and it has to have certain specifications that you're looking for. Maybe you don't want the ice maker on the front, or you have a very particular size of space that you need the fridge to fill, and maybe some budgetary requirements. You can actually query the AI to go and do research for you, and it can look at tens or even hundreds of different websites and gather all that information for you. And really, it doesn't do it instantly. It could take time depending on the type of research that you have it doing, where it's going to spend minutes or even hours doing this research and then coming back to you with a very informed response. The reasoning models are very similar in that instead of just producing an answer as the first kind of instant response, it actually has an internal dialogue process where it's talking to itself and thinking through, in a way, what you asked it to do and reviewing its responses before it gives you the final answer. And these types of models, deep research and the reasoning model, are very, very good in terms of thinking about the answer and making sure that it's checking it against known sources, The research models will produce the list of sources for you, and commonly used now for more complex queries that the initial models might spit out the answer that may be incorrect initially. The reasoning models are a lot better at making sure that they're producing an answer for you that is more truthful. Then we have the agent-based operator models. So, if you haven't heard of the operator models, again, this is pretty new type of release technology. There's a few different types. ChatGPT has one. It's still in sort of a preview mode. There are other competitor models that are available out there where you can actually assign a task to the agent. So the AI, for example, you can it can navigate the internet in the same way that a person can. It's using vision. It's able to move the mouse and create keyboard inputs. So it can actually go and do things on the internet for you. Like, if you decided to give it your credentials for Amazon, it could go shopping and buy stuff and actually click the purchase and fill out your name and fill out forms and take action on the internet. Whereas before, these models really couldn't do much more than just read or research what's on the internet. The operator models are completely capable of taking action for you, and so some of these have automation capabilities. So if there's a certain task that you have to do on a web-based app, whether it's on the internet or just a web-based application, these operator models can be automated. So where you set up that for every single day it's going to go check the weather for you and then send you an email with the weather report. Or one example that we have today is we need to know when certain items might be low or out of stock on Amazon, and we have an automation set up for the operator to navigate to Amazon, check the certain items that we're looking to keep an eye on, and then summarize the stock levels or the quantities of these items for us and send me an email every single day showing me the quantity levels of those particular items that I'm interested for on Amazon. And so any type of operation that you're doing on the internet today, these operators can be configured to do that either as a one-off or in automated fashion. Then you have the retrieval, augmented, and hybrid models. These are things like Perplexity, and of course ChatGPT has this now. And really, it's kind of like, back in the early days of the internet, if you were a business that was getting most of your clients from the yellow pages, and the internet comes along and sort of disrupts that. It's the same kind of situation today. If you're a business that's getting most of your clients from Google, Google is the yellow pages of today, in that these answer engines like Perplexity, and when you ask something like, where's the best place to get seafood in Albuquerque, instead of just producing a list of restaurants that sell seafood, these types of systems will actually go and read the menu and read reviews out there and make a determination for you. And it might give you a couple suggestions, but instead of just a list of businesses for you to do your own research on and whatever happens to rank to the top of the search query, it's actually providing answers for you. So they're often referred to as answer engines in and of themselves. The next one, item number 8 here, is model context protocol. And this is some of the newest type of large language model AI driven technologies that we're seeing out there. Really interesting system that is designed to be sort of a smart abstraction layer to connect different systems together. So if you have different applications out there, whether it's a web app or an actual app on your computer, the MCP protocol is designed to make those systems be interoperable or accessible. So an AI can access those, can share information between those disparate systems in a way where in the past it might have taken like an API, or you have to have a way for a computer to talk to these systems and programmatically access them. MCP is replacing that. And it's a system where you can very easily connect applications, web apps, systems that before might have been a lot more difficult to connect together. John, do you have any input on MCPs and any of these other systems?
I do, and as we had discussed before we started, don't have slides for my conversation. It'll be a little stream of consciousness. But what I'm going to try and do briefly is go through some fairly advanced technical concepts in simple language. So, you can put your arms around this technology regardless of how much of a technical background you might have. And, the initial thought in that regard is to appreciate that artificial intelligence technology is fundamentally different from the computer technology that you've used for years. Computer technology is called deterministic tech. And what that means is that the output is determined by the input. If your input is 2 plus 2, your output is going to be 4. It's going to be 4 every single time. If it's not 4, that's a bug. Something's wrong. With probabilistic tech, and that's what artificial intelligence is, probabilistic tech, the output is not determined by the input. The output is determined by sampling mathematical patterns for what they mean by attending to your input. Now, I know that's a bit of jargon, so we're going to try and say that in a better way. But I would point out that there's 2 parts to that statement. The output determined by sampling mathematical patterns for what they mean. We're going to focus on that in a minute. The second part is by attending to your input. The second part's a little bit beyond the scope of this conversation. It's the attention mechanism, but we could certainly follow up with folks that would want to dig a little bit deeper into that. But before we get into that jargon, there's another way we can put our arms around understanding probabilistic tech. And that is by simply describing the math of probability theory. Probability theory governs AI. It also governs casinos. And the simple way to describe probability theorem is Bayes' theorem. And you can express it as this, that the future equals the present times the past divided by everything. And if you take a minute, that kind of makes sense. The future, what's going to happen next, is a function of everything that's happened before, that's the past, and everything that's happening right now, that's the present, multiplied, divided by everything that could possibly happen. That's infinity. And therein lies the rub, because artificial intelligence, unlike Sherlock Holmes, cannot eliminate all possibilities and determine what's right by what is left. Everything is a very big number. It's infinity. There's not enough computing power in the universe to eliminate infinite possibilities. So there's approximation with probabilistic tech. That is not why, that's not entirely why, probabilistic technology gets it wrong. It misinterprets. It hallucinates. It's because the nature of probability theory is that it is uncertain if uncertain. Probability is about uncertainty. If there was such a thing as certain prediction, every casino on the planet would shut down tomorrow. And as the joke goes, I don't know about you, but I'm betting on the house. So the challenge with probabilistic tech, in order to make sure that you're crafting an application where the output matches your target, is eliminating these infinite possibilities. So the able AI practitioner is laser focused on reducing the possibilities that we need to eliminate. And I'm going to come back to that in just a second, but let me dig in to the aha moment that comes out of my previous statement. I said the output is determined by sampling mathematical patterns for what they mean. Sampling patterns for what they mean, sampling meaning, what the heck does that mean? That was actually the aha moment, the shocking realization in early days of artificial intelligence. We were using standard compression algorithms, the same type of compression algorithms that you would use to compress a photo so you can send it as an email or save it as a file on your computer. And a funny thing happened when you poured trillions of bits of information into these compression algorithms and then tried to compact it into its most efficient form using some specially designed computer chips called GPU. Something pretty amazing happened. Meaning went along for the ride. The compression algorithm organized based on meaning. And that is the spice of AI. So when we say that the output is determined by sampling mathematical patterns for what they mean, that's what it means. We're sampling meaning. We're sampling meaning. How does that tie into reducing possibilities? Well, the quality of that meaning, quality of the pattern, the quality of the data is going to improve the quality of the results. Simply put, the better those patterns represent the subjective information within your head and objective spreadsheets, PDF of the organization, the better that those patterns represent the meaning of your data, the better you are able to reduce possibilities. And that's the key to improving the quality of the output, especially related to the AI technology that Greg is going to cover, agents.
Agents. So let me scroll down here. So when we're talking about agents, let me go back to full screen. These are some of the agents that we've built today that are advancing our business objectives for ourselves and for our clients. And really, agents can be different types of AI, the different models that we just kind of went over in the last section, working together to achieve a task in an automated fashion with very little to no input on a daily basis from any workers, from any employees, from any human whatsoever. And so that's really what AI agents are when we're talking about AI agents. You can almost think of them as an employee. As a matter of fact, on the first example here, the ABQ-IT eBay store, when we rolled out the agent, which I'll explain what it does for you in a minute, this year, we expected there to be a little bit of a learning curve, even for the AI agent itself, to learn the task, to learn the job, to start doing a good job, just like you would bringing on an employee. A new employee takes time to learn the business, to learn the processes and procedures, the way that you like things done, to produce the output that is the ultimate form of productivity that the business is looking for. And this AI agent, in a sense, reports to a human supervisor. And the human supervisor judges the work of the AI agent. And, I instructed the supervisor in charge of this agent to treat it and think of it almost like a person in a sense where when it makes a mistake or does something that it's not supposed to do, we actually used what you kind of would in a human setting, almost like a corrective action form, or a write-up. And, instead of it writing up a person or giving corrective action to the person, that corrective action form is a log that gets read by the development team that can go back and make the changes necessary to, as John said, produce a better outcome, reduce the probability of getting it wrong, right? And so that's really what we were talking about doing when we decided to implement our agent within our eBay store. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, ABQ-IT is a division of Albuquerque Computer and Electronics Recycling Company. Now, it's the premier, largest, and only independently certified company in the state of New Mexico to handle end-of-life IT assets. Now, the first and foremost best thing to do with an end-of-life IT asset in terms of both environmental and fiscal responsibility is to keep that item in reuse if it still has that capability to serve the need of somebody. We don't determine what that is, the market does. And so when we get computers, laptops, any type of miscellaneous electronic device that still has reused and desirability in the marketplace, our goal is to refurbish that item and get it back out into the market. Now, eBay happens to be the #1 marketplace for used electronics, including computers and laptops. And, for over a decade, we've run an eBay store selling refurbished computers on our eBay store. And in the past, it was always quite a challenge for us to hire for that position, because not only do you have to have, the capabilities and skill set associated with being able to deal with the technology itself, refurbish the computer, but I also had to hire somebody with very good written communication skills. They had to be able to write a great title for that computer listing so that listing will rank to the top of this highly competitive marketplace and be presented for sale to people that are in the market for a refurbished laptop. So that was always a big challenge, finding somebody who can write a compelling title, who could write a compelling description of that laptop, and not only just one time, but hundreds of times and multiple times per day. And it was actually quite challenging, not even just can they do it, but would they do it over and over, day in and day out. So that position had a lot of turnover because it was a hard thing to do. Okay. And it's very hard to hire for. And of course, when we saw, the invention of ChatGPT and it come to market, and now even eBay has integrated in their app the ability where, you can get it to write a title for you, but it's challenging to prompt it. It still took a lot of work to get the information inside ChatGPT so it had the data that it needed to write a logical title to go inside that listing. And so very quickly, we realized that this is a perfect opportunity. After we went through a methodology, which we'll talk about later, this project rose right to the top as something that we needed to tackle for us to do internally as one of our first AI projects. And today, we have a very simple system where nobody has to prompt the AI, nobody has to feed AI the data, and nobody has to program it or prompt it in any way to create our eBay listings. And now all our technicians have to do is go through their normal process of refurbishing a laptop and reinstalling the operating system on it, getting it ready for its new life in a new home. And then they take pictures of that laptop, and those pictures are taken with a digital camera, and those pictures end up in a file on their desktop. Then we have a little very simple graphical user interface that the technician can write any details that they would want to share about that laptop that may not be picked up from the picture. Let's say the space bar key sticks or the hinge squeaks when you open it. And so those technician notes along with the pictures go into a file. And the job of the AI agent is to look for these files that are placed in a specific location and look at all the pictures, write a description of all the pictures of the laptop, read the technician notes, go to eBay, look for similar laptops that are currently like that one for sale on the marketplace, and look for ones that have sold in the past, and look at the price of those, right? And then it takes all that information and it puts together the perfect product listing for eBay. It writes the title, it writes the description, it determines the price, and then through an API, it connects to eBay and creates a payload that pushes the listing up to eBay without any human intervention whatsoever. And then it moves on to the next one and the next one, day in and day out. Never calls in sick, never has a issue where it can't come to work, never shows up late, just consistently performs perfectly and consistently day in and day out. And it really changed the dynamic of the person that we had to hire to fill that position. They don't even have to speak English anymore. Their technician notes could be in Spanish. And they don't have to have great written communication skills anymore. All they have to have is the technical skill required to refurbish laptops. And so we went from a department of 6 people to maintain the equipment and the inventory flow of our normal processes down to 2. And we were able to take 4 people and move them into our other IT services operations that add and generate a lot more revenue and more value to the business and to our local clients here. And so it was really transformative AI agent that's working within our business today to write all these listings, whereas before, somebody had to do that, and that was a job that nobody liked doing. And now the people who were doing that job have moved on to more productive areas within our business, and the department has shrunk by over half. So the other example is Parafani. It's a jewelry collective that has a Shopify store, and it sells jewelry on Shopify, on Etsy, on eBay, a few of these other sites. And we helped Parafani launch with, of course, creating the listings themselves, right? And their listings are a little bit different. Obviously, it's jewelry; it's not computers. The AI is, a different agent that's doing the listing with a little bit of a different skill set. And those listings aren't so bespoke. It's not like a laptop where you have one unique laptop, it gets listed, sells, and then you need to do the next one. These are quantity listings where the listing goes up and it lives there as long as they have inventory for that quantity of jewelry type. The other thing we did with Parafani, which was really interesting using AI, is automate their entire marketing process. So we took all the listings that were created with AI and that are out on their Shopify store, and we used a different AI marketing agent program to create content from the listings themselves. The listings already exist, the pictures are already up. How do we create that content? How does the AI agent go about doing that? Well, it takes the pictures that are part of the listing and it creates videos, short videos that are designed to go on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. And it can create pretty much an unlimited amount of video content where it's writing a custom song for each piece of jewelry for each short video, right? So, we didn't mention this earlier, but AI can make music. It can write songs. Are they the best type of music or the best types of songs? Ones that you might like listen to and want to go to a concert for? Probably not. But are they perfect commercial type jingles that are custom made and actually sound great for their purpose, which is like a commercial about jewelry? Absolutely perfect for that. So it's stitching together pictures, adding in special effects, adding in captions and moving text, along with a song generated specifically for that video around that piece of jewelry, around this brand. And we can produce an unlimited amount of content to drive traffic ultimately to their Shopify store so that people are making purchases there. And so if you check out Parafani on Facebook or Instagram or search for it on YouTube, you're going to be able to see some of those videos that we're making, listen to some of the songs that the AI is stitching together and see some of that work. Same thing for the ABQ-IT eBay store. You can, search for it on eBay, check it out. Every single listing for every single product on that store, whether it's a laptop, computer, or any type of miscellaneous piece of electronics. We sell a lot of vintage stuff too. The AI wrote every single one of those listings today. And then, the next use case that we came up with for our AI agents was winning a highly competitive RFP. So sometime last year, Albuquerque Public Schools released a request for proposal from businesses to help the district manage all their end-of-life IT assets. So we're talking the tens of thousands of iPads and Chromebooks and laptops that are used from the students all the way to the administrative staff, the teachers and personnel, everyone included, right? And so, as you can imagine, being the largest district in the state of New Mexico, this was a highly competitive request for proposal. It wasn't just Albuquerque companies like Albuquerque Computer and Electronics Recycling Company that are looking to win this business. We have companies from all neighboring states and even as far as Washington and Virginia trying to win this business. So in order for us to create the best proposal response that we could, we knew that this was a task that AI would be very well suited for. And what we ended up doing was using two custom trained GPT models to help us formulate our response. And kind of the workflow worked like this. The first GPT was an ACER, ACER short for Albuquerque Computer and Electronics Recycling, RFP Helper GPT. And then the second GPT was an RFP Expert GPT. So again, two custom GPTs. First one trained on our business. We fed it information, not just from our website, which is an obvious place to learn a lot about the company, but, we were able to transcribe stream of consciousness notes from employees that have been with us for over a decade about, what they view our differentiators are and what makes us special as a company and, why, any business should consider working with that company. And really just put this data together. It didn't need to be incredibly organized or structured. Again, stream of consciousness Word document and a website scrape and other little details that we wanted to add just in the form of Excel spreadsheets or documents and that kind of stuff. And then we, fed it to this GPT. So it was a trained expert on our business. The next GPT was one that we took from the GPT store from ChatGPT, one that somebody else had pre-trained on writing RFPs and responding to RFPs. It was a generalized expert at RFPs. Then we had those two work together. So, the first stab at writing a response was given to the ACER RFP GPT helper. And, we would feed it the proposal or the request for proposal and ask for a response for the first section. Just did this one section at a time. It would take that response and we would give that response and hand it over to the RFP expert helper GPT. And that would perform a complete critique on that response. And it would really focus on clarity and compliance with the RFT requirements to make sure that we're actually checking every little box that this RFP is asking for in our response for that section, and be very persuasive and talk about what makes us different and how we should be considered in terms of what we're looking to provide as our differentiator for this RFP, and really format it in a way that's very organized in a clear way in response to that proposal. And so this is just a critique of the initial draft written by the first GPT that's trained on our business. Once we have the critique, we're able to go back to the ACER GPT and give it that critique, where it could then write a second draft based on the feedback from the other AI GPT. And so at that point, when it had that feedback, it would really, adjust the language to be more precise, add any missing details. It could even ask us if it wasn't sure and didn't have the information from the pre-training data that we had given it, and really position our new unique value proposition and overall just use the feedback from the RFP trained GPT to write the perfect response to the RFP. So, overall, the final outcome was a compelling, airtight proposal that truly maximized our chances of winning this highly competitive RFP. And, it worked. So, we won the RFP. When we went in and we talked to the stakeholders at APS, they commented just how professional our proposal came across compared to the competition. And we're just kind of blown away about, how good that it looked initially. So that's a little bit more on how we've implemented and used these AIs internally. Just quickly here, I wanted to.
Greg,
Yeah.
before we jump into that, let me just preface. We're going to be talking a little bit about what not to do. And to expand on that initially, we do have data that we can look at, after action reports that come back from consultants working in enterprise, specifically describing why the client is dissatisfied. The principal reason why folks are dissatisfied with AI projects is that the team deploying the project, implementing the project, did not sufficiently look at the data. And generally speaking, when we see a report like that, and it's an endless stream, there is either a eye roll emoji or some sort of comment up front like, I can't believe I'm saying this again. It's so prevalent. Folks do not sufficiently look at the data. When I mentioned initially, it's all about reducing possibilities. Again, it's about the quality of the data. And data breaks down to objective data, subjective data. And objective data is the easier part. It's spreadsheets, it's PDFs. And the AI practitioner has to look at that data. They have to look at it. They have to take the time to look at it. The next type of data, subjective data, is what we are able to glean from the stakeholders in a frictionless, iterative process, give and take, where we're trying to distill some of that knowledge in their heads. That requires marrying soft skills with technical skills. And that's a challenge to be able to glean that information. Also, AI is, for a lot of the folks coming out of the Valley or the folks that are working at enterprise, it's kind of sexy. It's kind of glamorous. And I can assure you, data wrangling is anything but that. It's the hard work of AI. It's the wiring. It's the plumbing. It's the part you've got to get right so the meaning that you're sampling represents the meaning of the collective intelligence of the firm. And failing to really dig into the data is a reason why you're going to see some of the examples that Greg is going to present to you.
Yeah, we're seeing that there's a lot of risk with any IT project, but there's a special amount of risk when it comes to AI, given that it's just a very powerful tool. And there's a lot of people rushing to implement. They're looking at the wrong problem and the wrong solution. The consequences are at best wasted time, operational disruptions, lower return on investment, potential competitive disadvantage. And so we just kind of want to talk about some of the lessons from the field, what we're seeing. In this first example here, a prankster tricked a GM chatbot and agreeing to sell him a $76,000 Chevy Tahoe for $1. Obviously they knew what they were doing. They were talking to an AI chatbot, and it, they gamed it. They got it to agree to do this. In another case, the airline was held liable by the court system for its chatbot giving passenger bad advice. What was the bad advice? Well, the chat, bot was set up to be a customer service chatbot, and the passenger was asking about bereavement discount, if they could get a discount if they're flying for a reason to fly to a funeral. There wasn't anything in the chatbot about that. And so it's hallucinated, yeah, there is a discount, and it gave it to the customer. When the customer went to fulfill that discount, they found out, well, the airline doesn't have that policy. They were angry enough to take them to court, and they got the judge to enforce what the chatbot had made up. Another case, the entire HR team was fired after the manager used his own resume to prove their system was auto-rejecting all candidates. So, I'm not sure in this case how long that they were missing out the fact that their AI system was rejecting these candidates, what kind of candidates they might have missed out on, and went and got other jobs somewhere else that they might have been able to bring onto their business. So, I mean, these are examples of, we're not sure if they were even solving the right problem within the business, if they were even using AI to make the right move and use this as the right project, but certainly the project went bad in and of itself. Now, I just want to pause quickly because, we did set aside only 45 minutes for this. It looks like we're not quite through the presentation. For those that can stick on, we've probably got about another 10 minutes of content to go through. For those that need to drop, we will make a recording of this and be able to send this out to everybody on this call. But just moving on, we found too that not only can these projects go bad from an external perspective, but there can be sort of an immuno response within the company itself. If you go to implement an AI project and maybe employees think that AI is here to take jobs. Maybe they have a real negative disposition about AI, and they're not going to use it no matter if it's going to make their life better or not. So that really needs to be taken into consideration as well when companies are looking at implementing AI within the business. Some of what we're seeing here are, just general sentiment that Americans have about AI. On the graph on the right, that green on the bottom is showing that, as time is moving on, Americans are becoming more concerned than excited about artificial intelligence in their daily life, and they're getting less excited than concerned. And so, that's kind of a trend that you need to watch out for, both from an external perspective, if you have customer facing AI, and internally, when you're rolling it out for business use cases. And then on the left, there are some encouraging signs where, people are thinking that companies might be using it to make safer cars and trucks, or giving doctors, providing quality care to patients, or, enabling people to take better care of their health. Those are some good signs. But certainly where it says, people are concerned about it keeping their personal information private, that's a huge red flag, that people have very big concerns about AI and as it relates to, their information and their security. And certainly, that needs to be taken into account as well when you're considering implementing AI services within the business. Is, what kind of data is it going to be looking at? Is that data going across, to ChatGPT servers or some other services where, you might be breaking data governance practices by doing that? Would it be better to build your own AI system on site, on premise, on your own servers, so it doesn't have to traverse the wire, it stays behind your firewall, and that information is not potentially getting out there? All those types of things need to be considered, when looking at AI. And as a matter of fact, New Mexico as a state, the legislature is looking very hard at implementing their own laws. They're following in the footsteps of Colorado, which was a state to pass the first AI Act, this one here. And as a matter of fact, I've got a link here, the handouts list of the New Mexico legislatures. They've been very carefully reviewing this Colorado law as a template. Very often laws are templatized and passed from state to state. And already New Mexico legislator is looking at this Colorado law as a template. And, one of the big things that they're worried about is algorithmic discrimination. Are these systems going to be used to inadvertently discriminate, as in the HR case, against everybody, or, potentially against, certain focus groups or people that, they shouldn't be discriminating against?
And if I could expand a little bit upon that, Greg, that this was a bit of a passion project for me last year when the legislation was presented in Colorado. I actually created a firm in the past that was in a heavily regulated industry, and I did have to pick up the phone and call various legislatures. And I can say that the standard process is that when one state adopts a model act, as long as it seems to be reasonably sufficient, the other states, for the most part, just cut and paste. So it is certainly our high expectation that the legal standard in the Colorado law, which is called the reasonably foreseeable standard, is going to be coming to New Mexico. And, the passion relative to that was the fact that, as Greg said, one of the regulations looking to be promulgated here is in order to make sure that the algorithm does not inadvertently discriminate. Well, as described to you up front, probabilistic attack if it says 2 + 2 = 5, that's still a feature, not a bug, because an infinite number of possibilities, 5 may be a legitimate answer. There's no such thing as perfect prediction. So technically, if you look at that law and say, well, how might the algorithm inadvertently discriminate? The answer is when you turn it on. It's the nature of the technology. We have, as business operators, witnessed situations where the regulators are regulating maybe a reality that's a little bit different than the reality we got to deal with. And the old school techniques of documenting best efforts, terms and conditions, representations and warranties, maybe in a confessional form contemporaneously. Those are the old school techniques in order to show that you're making best efforts. Somewhere and that you're reasonably foreseeing that the algorithm will make some errors. Within the description that Greg's provided to you, there's a comment relative to enforcement by the Attorney General. So, if there's an issue under this act, the idea is that it goes to a state official. So you are only concerned about going about it in a way that the state official is going to say, hey, you're reasonably foreseeing what that algorithm can do. So we can certainly handle that, but it's something that folks do need to be aware of. If this is customer facing, there need be terms, conditions, reps, warranties, or some sort of form to mitigate this legislation being applied incorrectly. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So with that, real quick, just want to touch on our process to avoid these pitfalls and how we determine to answer the question, what can your business do to benefit from large language models? And we have a methodology that is an engagement that we can do for businesses, and just kind of a high level of that methodology and what it looks like is, a business process analysis where we're going in there, understanding the goals, objectives of the business. What are the inputs? What are the outputs? What is the organizational chart and each person's responsibility within that organization to drive business objectives? What is their workflow? What type of computer systems are they using today and the applications involved in those workflows? And really understand the data readiness, what type of data they have, what's the quality and availability of the data, and what are the security and data governance practices that need to be followed right now for the business. And really also do a skill and talent assessment. And part of that is understanding the general sentiment of employees and their view on AI, but also, are any of them using AI today? Is there any that, daily have a routine that they're doing with AI that can easily be automated? Or, would employees benefit from being upskilled and taught some of these different AI models that we learned today, like operator and deep research and, creating custom GPTs? And really create a scorecard that has all the different possible projects that we've identified, based on what we learned, to prioritize AI initiatives and align them with key business objectives. And that scorecard ranks these different projects and possibilities based on, what's important to the business, what AI projects are going to best achieve the goals and objectives of the business, and really approach it with that methodology without jumping into just any project that seems like it might be a good fit, to really make a list of these projects and rank them according to the biggest impact that they're going to have on the business, the biggest return on the investment they're going to get, and the level of risk that's associated with each one of those. And that's going to be different for every single business, once you dig in and you start looking at that. But without a doubt, every business is going to have one of these lists and is going to have a scorecard that this methodology will produce, that will show you the lowest hanging fruit, the most viable project that AI can be used for to move the needle within each organization.
And if you're, just looking on an individual case basis to, play around with it and look to create something, if I might frame your vision with a final comment, you may want to do a thought check along the process of, are you creating a toy or are you creating a tool? if the folks that you're utilizing to implement the AI internally or externally are vibing or representing that AI is this super intelligence and you need to sprinkle this magical pixie dust onto your legacy tech, it's going to do it faster, it's going to do it stronger, it's going to do it better, chances are you're leaning towards creating a toy. If, however, the folks that you've assembled for this initiative are of the mindset that, yeah, it's a super intelligent worldview, but it's dumber than your household pet. There's no logic, there's no reasoning whatsoever. It's up to us to provide that. Chances are you're probably creating a tool.
That's right. And anytime you're going through one of these projects or looking at implementing AI, you want to design it as we have with our methodology to take advantage of this R&D tax credit. It's both federal and the state of New Mexico has this. They're of course separate, one for the feds, one for the state. But the key eligibility and requirements are pretty much the same, and you can write off up to, I believe it's around 20 to 25% of your spend on implementing this technology if you meet a couple of the all four, I should say, of these qualified activities. So you need to aim to create or improve a business component, functionality, performance, reliability, or quality. I mean, that's almost a given in AI. The activity needs to rely on principles of physical or biological, but in this case, engineering or computer science. So it more than, meets that qualification. It needs to aim to, the research has to seek to solve a technical uncertainty about the development or improvement of a product or process. What that means is you can't know for a fact that it's going to work, that you're certain that this is like an off-the-shelf sort of computer system that you might buy that is aimed to solve a specific problem. These need to be bespoke solutions that you're building for your business that you might suspect was going to work and do a great job, but you can't know for certain. And then it has to have some experimentation, which all these do. It involve prototyping and experimenting with different prompts or AI models that we talked about. And so, that's the general four qualifiers that it takes to be able to get up to 25% credit back from any investment that you make towards AI. And so, if anybody would like to learn more about our process, I'll be sending out a copy of this proposal. You can reply to John's invite for this email and ask for some time on the calendar. We'd be more than happy to come out in person and talk to individuals about how they can benefit from this in their business, or jump on a call, like a Teams call, and just talk, on an individual basis, more about our methodology and sort of how we work, and how to answer the question for your business, what you can be doing to benefit from this technology. And we appreciate everybody's time on the call today. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care.